welcome to episode 41 of Fluffy Fiascos, the French podcast in English on sewing, knitting, spinning and living green. All of course with the occasional help of the kitty of the house, who's decided to join us today, to my delight. And yeah, hello everyone, my name is Isabelle, and you can find me on Instagram, Ravelry, Twitter, Pinterest as Fluffy Fiascos, and the show notes for the podcast, as well as my sewing and knitting blog, can be found at fluffyfiascos.com. So I do hope you're all doing well. Today is February the 25th, 2016, and it's a glorious day here. It seems here that spring is already here, and we've hardly had any winter at all. I think it's felt like winter for about a week and a half or something, somewhere in January, I think, and that's all really. But it's really wonderfully sunny, very, very mild, and yes, it really is quite enjoyable, especially as I know that, further north it's pretty gloomy and dreary at the moment. So I do hope you're all well. I'm very glad to be joining you today for this new episode, and thank you so much for tuning in and for taking some time to watch. Welcome if this is your first episode. I do hope you enjoy it, and if you're coming back, thank you so much for coming back. So today's segments will include my cup of tea, a handmade wardrobe, events, a bit of sewing, a bit of knitting, and a bit of spinning, and Happy Mail Day. First of all, since Petite Mignonne is in my lap right now, I just wanted to give you a quick update on her, because I know some of you are interested and have been asking about her. So last year I shared that she'd been having some health issues, both with her heart and her thyroid, and her heart is she's getting medication for both. She turned 13 at the end of January, so actually January the 25th, so exactly a month ago. And I've had her for 11 years now. She's a rescue cat. We adopted her from a shelter 11 years ago when we were in Paris. And so her heart really does not worry us really, because we're able to find the problem very, very early on, and so she's very well treated for it, and I really don't think that is going to give any trouble in the future. However, she's got some she's got, extremely high thyroid levels, and it means that she's been under medication for about a year now. Her thyroid levels were, literally sky high. I mean, they were outside of the charts, that they use at the vet. So she's been under medication for about a year now, and she's been back to the vet recently, and sadly, right now she's got the same levels. At first the treatment worked really well, but at the moment she's at the same level that she had a year ago, and so we've just started to double her dosage of her medication. And the problem with that is she's losing a lot of weight. She's been losing a lot of weight, so she's even more underweight than she was a year ago, and she's constantly hungry, constantly thirsty. She drinks so much water, and yeah, apart from that, she really seems to be her usual happy, cuddly self, really. She's been as cuddly as ever. She seems really content, really happy, as you can see probably, and so that's a very important thing, and I really do hope the new dose will help her feel better. Yeah. So yes, that's my little bit of news about her. So she's the vet is she's well taken care of, and we're doing our best, and I really do hope it works out this time. So for my cup of tea today, I am drinking out of my wonderful tea mug by my lovely friend Danny of Little Bobbins Knits, the Little Bobbins Knits podcast and Etsy shop and website as well. And she was kind enough to make this mug for me. I shared it last time on the podcast and I really absolutely adore it. And I'm drinking one of my absolute favourite teas, which is some green Earl Grey tea from my favourite brand of French organic tea, which is Les Jardins de Gaïa. And yeah, it's absolutely lovely. If you've never tried Earl Grey with green tea instead of black tea, really do give it a try. It's so fresh and crisp and so refreshing, really lovely. So we're all under a bit of a cold at the moment. I'm starting to feel better today, but we've all been really under the weather at home, and so yeah, tea has really helped, or hot beverages of course. So for a handmade wardrobe today, I'm wearing a dress that I made when I was pregnant with my first daughter. So this is not a maternity pattern. I'm going to share some pictures with you. It's not a maternity pattern, but I altered it to become a maternity dress, and it's actually one of my favourite simplicity dress patterns, which is designed for knits. So this is Simplicity 3678, and I've made this pattern so many times. It's a threads pattern, which as I told you earlier in previous episodes, it's a sub-brand of the Simplicity pattern that I really like. And so I adapted it to maternity wear. I shared this on my blog, so I will share the link to the precise blog post on the show notes for this episode. And so I made view B with the crossover bodice. So view B is this one, with the crossover bodice and long sleeves, and the sleeves I made really long because this was to be a winter maternity dress, and I made it out of a lovely knit that came from London, that was bought for me by my friend Melissa of fairtrade.com. So it's got a little bit of history. Melissa and her husband were due to travel to France, so that was 4.5 years ago, and she lives in London, so she asked me if I wanted anything, you know, to buy anything from a website, have it delivered at her home, so I would save on shipping, and that's what we did. And so that was one of the fabrics that I chose, and it's a cotton knit, and it's very cozy for winter. So yes, so this leads me to mentioning my blog on fluffyfibers.com, and I've been doing a lot of changes to the blog in the past couple of weeks, because I've finally been putting up all of my old blog posts from kittycouture.blogspot.com, my old sewing blog, and I've been sifting through all of my posts. I had this blog since 2004, so there was a lot of content to go through. I'm not quite done yet, but I do think all the most interesting blog posts and informative blog posts are now on Fluffy Fibers, and so I've been sifting through the posts, removing things that were, you know, irrelevant or that I felt were too personal after a while, because that's the thing when you've had a blog for over 10 years, is you don't necessarily feel like you need to share so much, you know, from your past life, or, you know, and so I've been editing things and about keeping all these pattern reviews, all my tutorials, and so this is part of it. This is now on the fluffyfibers.com website. I'm very excited to have been doing this, and it's something I've been meaning to do for a long time, because I really did have a lot of content on, you know, the things, the wardrobe I'd been creating for now 12 years, and it felt a bit of a waste to have it all stored away in my drafts section of the website. So yes, I do hope you will find it useful, and it will allow me, of course, to link every time I share a garment that I made in the past. It will allow me to link to this particular garment. And actually the thing that spurred me to finally do that is last time I podcasted, I shared the Little Red Riding Hood cape I made for my daughter, and actually one of the very first things I posted on my blog, so that must have been 2004 or 2005, was a tutorial for making a hooded poncho, and this tutorial would apply perfectly to this kind of cape. I felt this might be helpful to some of you who'd like to recreate this, because I've had some requests about that, so I felt it was about time to put up all of that useful content back onto the new website. So I'm very, very, very excited to have done that. And this leads me now to events. Okay, as you must have heard in the background, Petite Mignon was being really noisy and in want of attention, so I've taken her back on my lap. So now for events, and the cute dress sew along, you can use the hashtag cute dress sew along on Instagram, is going really, really well, and I'm so happy to see how many of you have been joining and how much fun we've all been having, really, and it's been so inspiring to see everyone's makes. I do invite you, even though you don't feel like you could participate, or you feel you don't have enough time or anything, I do invite you nonetheless too, or you feel you don't feel able to do that. Do take a look at the thread, because it's so inspiring and motivating, and I'm sure it might spur a few of you to participate, even though you weren't feeling up to it at first, because really there are so many patterns now that are really cute and achievable, and seeing everyone's progress makes you realise that it is doable. You know, there are mums in the thread that are very busy mums, and they do manage to sew, you know, bit by bit, and I've had a really hard time sewing because my back has been really hurting me, but it's better actually this week, and I was so frustrated at not being able to sew, but I have been able to sew over the past week, despite our all being really sick. The sew along runs until the first day of spring, which is March the 20th, and I have been gathering up some prizes for the sew along, which is really exciting. The most exciting prize is a gorgeous project bag that lovely Shauna of the Adelaide Cottage podcast and Etsy shop is going to make for the sew along, and she's been so wonderful in accepting to do that. And if you recall, a few weeks ago I shared this gorgeous project bag that she made for me, and it's very well made, it's very roomy, and so she's going to make a sewing themed one. She showed me the fabrics, and they're just gorgeous and so fun, with dress forms and vintage sewing machines, and so she's going to be making a project bag, and she may also include sewing pattern in there, so that's going to be really a wonderful prize. I am also going to offer my Verdure shawl as a prize, or maybe even a couple of prizes. Obviously I will be, you know, if your name gets picked and you've already got the Verdure shawl, then I will give you another prize. But because I think this is a really nice spring shawl, and I did design it in the spring, and so I think it would be a nice complement to your new cute dress. And I will also offer one pattern up to the value of €8, which I think is about the maximum value that you can get, I guess, for you know, for the vast majority of garment patterns on Ravelry. And of course, if the pattern you want is a little over €8, it's fine. But I would like this price to be used again, possibly towards making a garment that would, you know, make an outfit with your new dress. I think that would be really lovely. So this leads me, of course, to a bit of sewing and to my own cute dress sewing project. And so I have been making the washi dress from the Made by Ray design line, and the designer is Ray Hoekstra. I do hope I'm pronouncing this right. And I only have good things to say about this pattern. It's really very thorough. It's wonderful for beginners. I really do recommend it for beginners because you have so many diagrams, pictures, small I don't want to give anything away, but for instance you have this kinds of squares to, you know, for tips and techniques, and everything is so clear, starting with the, you know, the whole layout for cutting out your pieces, taping your pieces, etc, etc. So from beginning to end this has been just very impressive. And the only thing that I have found a bit unnerving, if you're an experienced sewist, is that the seam allowances are not your usual 5/8 of an inch or 1.5 centimetre. They are half inch seam allowance, which has been really I really haven't been enjoying that part because it's not something that I'm used to finding on my sewing plate as well, you know, and I know I could use some tape to keep the mark, but then I don't know, I'm just, it's a bit confusing really if you're used to your regular you know, either 1 centimetre, so 3/8 of an inch, or your 1.5 centimetre, which is 5/8 of an inch seam allowances. It's a bit confusing really, but it's my only complaint really. Also, yes, my other one, but it's something I've already said, but everything is in inches and nothing is converted, and I really wish when things were all in inches, in imperial measurement, because this of course is designed to be, it's very international, isn't it? It's a PDF. Yeah, I mean you can get it as a PDF. Anyone over the world, and many people over the world, have been making this dress, and I think it would be really great if you had both the metric and the imperial measurements, because the metric measurements of course are used everywhere in the world except in the US, so I completely understand getting, you know, having the imperial measurements there, but it would be great to have both, I think. So here's my progress on this dress, and really this is just the result of one afternoon sewing, because so my daughter was really sick last week, and so I had to stay with her, and all she wanted was cuddles, so it was us cuddling in the on the sofa, so that's what we did, reading books and that kind of thing. Before that my back was really too bad for me to, you know, cut my pattern on the floor. That's the trickiest part for me in as regards my back. But then on Saturday afternoon, Seb you know, did an activity with my daughter, so that's where I got some time, and after that we all got sick, and so I haven't touched this since Saturday, and today is Thursday. So here is where I am at the moment. Let me, okay, there you go. This is where I am at the moment. So this is the front, and I added a zipper opening at the front because I want to use this as a nursing dress, and of course I've so the sides aren't sewn yet, and I'm making this as a maternity dress, so it's pretty large. I'm making the M for the front and the S for the back, and I think for my usual measurements I would go with an XS everywhere. So yes, I did the pleats, the darts, and I added this zipper, and I'm going now to show you the detail. I added, so the zipper at the front, and I need to do the facings now, and I'm undecided. So I did an invisible zipper, as you can see, zipper insertion. And I'm undecided about the neckline actually. I thought I was going to do the sort of, how do you say, teardrop neckline, I think. So you see, I think you can call it, but I'm not sure it would be that, it would go that well with the zipper. I also think the actual neck, the other neckline that you can do, which is this one, would be a bit high, especially in the first few months of nursing. Your your breast varies greatly in volume as the day goes by, and so I'm thinking I might need, it might be good to have more, less fabric on the bust, so that it is less confined really. So I'm thinking rather of redrawing the bust line, the neckline here, to have it gently, gently curve all the way up to the zipper, all the way down to the zipper. So just slightly doing that, I think that would work really well. But yeah, the zipper insertion itself was really very easy. Ray actually has a blog post about that, which is not hugely detailed, but if you've ever done a zipper insertion, you will be able to do that. And yeah, so all of my edges are serged. Of course, I always serge all of my edgings right after I'm done cutting out the pattern, so that I don't have to be concerned with finishing up the seams afterwards, because because it allows you then to, press the seams open, which you wouldn't if you serge the edges together to start with, versus if you did everything on the serger. I never do a woven garment on the serger. I always use my serger to finish off seams. As a matter of fact, even for my knit garments, for my garments that I knit out, that I sew out of jersey fabric, I know you technically you can assemble the garment all in the serger, and I've done so in the past, but my preference goes to making everything on the sewing machine first, and then or actually before that, serging all the edgings, and then making everything on the sewing machine, because I find it's sturdier that way, really. It's sturdier, it's more precise. I really like it better this way. But yeah, and another reason why I serge all my pieces before I start sewing is it's a lot trickier. Once your seam is done, if you haven't serged the edges, it's a lot trickier to serge them once you have this tiny seam allowance left, and it would be a lot easier to completely mess up and get part of your fabric caught in under the sewing, the serging blades, and even under the knife of the serger. So, and this has happened to me in the past, so that's why I'm very careful about that. I remember the first year I got my serger, this was a regular occurrence, and that's also a reason why, because it's better to, first of all, it's a lot less likely to happen if you're just serging one single layer of fabric and just the edges, than if you're serging something that is attached to another piece of fabric. And also, should you mess up and catch part of your fabric, you won't have wasted so much time in the construction, and it's much easier to figure out how to fix it or to see if it's not fixable. So yes, that's my 2 cents about serging. I really prefer, it's a much smoother process, I think, if you serge everything when, you know, before you start assembling your pieces. The one thing I haven't serged is the neckline, because the neckline is going to be finished anyway, either with facings or, and I have the facings here, but then thinking about it, I thought, first of all, I need to redraw this, but also I thought it would be much neater, I think, because of the zipper, and it means I'm going to be opening this, you know, and I think it would be a lot neater to have a bias binding finish. And by this I don't mean a bias tape finish, rather. I'm not going to bind the edges with bias tape, but I'm going to do this lovely finishing technique where you you sew the bias tape to the outside and then you'd flip it inside, and it's actually invisible from the outside. And it's a very, very lovely finish, and I think it would look really neat here, because this is going to get exposed when I open up the front, really. And then I won't have to worry about this facing flapping in and out, which I think for this kind of, you know, since this is going to be used as a nursing dress as well, I think this is going to be much user-friendly. So my favourite part of the dress is the back, and all this smocking. I absolutely love this, and it looks complicated, doesn't it? And it really isn't. And I hadn't done any smocking in years and years. I think the first time and the last time I ever did some smocking was I think the first year I ever started sewing, and so of course I was completely out of habit with it, and in fact it's so easy, so simple. What you do is you use some elastic thread, which is this. So it's an elastic thread, see, that you wind it carefully without stretching onto your bobbin. So it's going to be used as the bottom, you know, on the bottom layer of your stitches. And then you use your regular sewing thread on the top for the top needle, and you just sew straight lines. So and the more lines you sew, the more ruched it becomes, the more smocked it becomes. And I would really love to make a smocked dress for my daughter now, because it's just so easy to do. It's so cute, so feminine. I just love this detail. And so I'm actually thinking I might get another metre of this fabric, which my daughter chose, by the way. We went to Toto on Saturday morning, last Saturday, because yes, I forgot to mention, this isn't the fabric I was planning on using, if you recall last podcast, but thinking about it, and that's one of the good things not to rush into a project, actually, because I had some more time to think about it before I was able to actually tackle this project. I realised that it might not be the best fabric, because it was a medium to heavyweight fabric, really. It's a gorgeous, substantial kind of cotton, and I realised with the smocking and the pleats at the front, it wouldn't be the best fabric for this, really. You need something pretty blousy, and so on Saturday morning I went with my daughter to Toto downtown, and she chose this fabric for me. Well, I picked a few different prints, and then I let her decide which was best. And yeah, and there was this print with blue flowers, and there was another print, the same print, but with pink flowers all over it. And I actually really liked the pink, but my daughter was completely adamant that I should get the blue. So yes, I don't have this, you know, again, my daughter loves blue. She's really not a fan of pink. And but I'm thinking I might get an extra metre for her, because my daughter has gorgeous blue eyes, and this would just look wonderful on her, I think. so I might do that for her. If I get the same fabric for my daughter, I would like to make probably the geranium top, also by made by Ray, which some of you lovely people have been showing in the Ravelry thread that you've made your daughters, and it seems to be a wonderful pattern because you have whole wardrobes full of them. So it seems to be pretty addictive to sew, and I would make it as a tunic. It's a dress or a tunic, but my daughter at the moment really is into wearing trousers or jeans or leggings, and she's not really into wearing dresses, so I'm thinking she would be getting a lot more use out of a cute tunic than out of a dress, really. She would wear it a lot more. So yeah, I think that would be really nice to have matching outfits for the summer. So now for a bit of knitting, and I have been doing mostly knitting lately because we've been snuggling on the couch, which has been really lovely actually. My daughter is so cuddly at the moment. Yeah, so I finished the little cardigan for our little boy who's due in July. So it's knit out of my hand span, which was from a braid hand dyed by Sarah's Texture Crafts, and it was part of her colour club inspired by Impressionist painters. And this is inspired by Monet, which is very obvious, isn't it, when you see this? And I'm so happy with how this turned out, and the subtle striping, and I absolutely love this. And the knitting at first was a bit disconcerting, if I may say, because I applied this very firmly, and of course it made the yarn a little slightly ropey, and it did get better after a while, and it's really softened up a lot after washing. But it was a bit, you know, it's a different experience than when you're using, you know, an industrial fluffy yarn. But it's really made me think, and actually I recently listened to one of the latest episodes from the Sweet Georgia podcast with Felicia Lowe, and she was interviewing Rachel, who has the Knitting and Spinning podcast, and she's Wellford Pearls on Instagram and Ravelry, I think. And I've been following her podcast for I think about a year. I really, really love her podcast. It's very inspiring. And she was phrasing things that I'd precisely been thinking about lately, but she phrased it of course very clearly, and it really helped me understand things and put the finger on what I want my spinning to be as well. And it does seem that plying very firmly does make for a lovely yarn, you know, aesthetically speaking, but it's the knitting experience might not be as nice because it's so firm. And this has led me to reflect on the fact that it might be actually better to try and twist your singles less, so that even if you ply it a bit more, a bit firmly, because the singles are very squishy, it might still make a squishy yarn. And that's precisely, and I'm completely rambling into spinning at the moment, but I'll be talking more about this with my spinning project, because that's precisely what I've been trying to achieve lately with my spinning. But anyway, yes, so to go back to this, the pattern is the Cardigan à empiècement arrondi by Citronie, and it's part of the Tricot Intemporel pour bébé book, which is a great resource. It's all in French, of course, but it's a great resource for baby knits. It's got loads of basics for baby knits. And the funny thing is, the first cardigan I ever knit for my daughter was the same pattern, and it's also the one I used for our baby. So this is knit in the 6-month size because my baby is going to be born in July. July here is very hot, and besides, my daughter was born in February, and I made her a ton of cardigans in the either newborn or 1 month or 3 months size. So I don't really need to make anything in these sizes because we have tons and we're not going to be using them much anyway. But my daughter didn't have much in, for the 6-month size, because when she was 6 months, it was December. And also, it was the time when I was, well, from her birth to about when she was about 6 months, I was very, very ill. So, of course, my knitting took a back seat. And so, sadly, she doesn't have many hand knits from 6 months to a year, really, in terms of the size. So that's really what I'm concentrating on. And so, the only thing I'm a bit peeved, if I may, about this is that this is the last sleeve I knit, and as you can see there's a very rough transition here. Well, there's no transition, and that's because I really wanted to use every last bit of my lovely handspan, and so I knit the whole body as long as I could. Then I weighed my yarn to determine how many grams I could use per sleeve, and I knit the sleeve, and this sleeve, so as you can see, the bottom here is pretty dark, but the other end of the yarn was light, and it really matches very well, I think. You know, there's a very smooth transition here. But then when I finished here, where, you know, the sleeve here, it was pretty dark, which meant this end was dark, and this end was dark, so I had no choice but to start with this darker shade. So it bothers me a little, but really when you see the overall result, I really think it's pretty acceptable. And the buttons, again, my daughter helped me pick. They're grey buttons, greyish blue, which I think blend in well. I really did want I wanted some buttons that wouldn't distract from the lovely colours in the handspan, really. So yes, first little knit for the baby done, and after that I concentrated on my own cardigan. So I cast this on just before I started the previous episode, if you recall. So I had just started on it last time, and I'm hosting this in my gorgeous Mama bag from Mama to Abigail, who has the Holland Handmade Co. Etsy shop and the Holland Handmade podcast, and she's Mama to Abigail on Ravelry and Instagram, and she makes these gorgeous bags, which I've already shown in the past, but I can't get enough of them. They're just so gorgeous. And so I am knitting Love's Promise by Agata Makiewicz. Agata, I think I should say, Agata Makiewicz. And I'm knitting this out of my lovely Madeleine Tosh Pashmina in the Dr. Zivagos Sky colourway, which I purchased in Paris last October, and it was very hard for me to find the perfect project for this, and but this really is, and it's been an absolute delight to work on, and I have so enjoyed this project. So it's a fitted cardigan with an open front, and the detail that drew me to it is the lace, this lace insertion at the, well, what would be the side seams, but of course this is knit seamlessly from the top down. It's a raglan construction, and I absolutely love this delicate lace detail that, you know, emphasizes the waist. And yeah, so I've been alternating my skeins. I have 2 skeins. I've been alternating them, but really I'm not sure it would have made a difference not to, because they're very, very similar. And I'm almost done with the body, actually. I've done all the decreases because there's some lovely back shaping for the waist. So I've done all the decreases and then I just finished doing the increases. So now it's just straight knitting for just a few inches, I should say. I should try it on today to see. And then I've got the whole collar to do, and then the sleeves, of course. And I'll do the sleeves last because, you know, to be very conservative with yarn and make sure I have enough, because I really will have just enough, I think. So yes, and I wanted to share the stitch markers that I have in here, because last time I podcasted I shared the lovely package that lovely Danny sent me, but I completely forgot to mention the gorgeous stitch markers that she made for me. And so here are a couple of them, and so I put them into this project. So they're really very lovely, very delicate, and something I really, really love. So I've been really enjoying using these. And she also sent me a progress keeper, which yeah, there you go, absolutely lovely, tea themed. There you go. Isn't it lovely? So lovely. Okay, there you go. Lovely tea themed stitch marker. Because you need to put some removable stitch markers when you're done with the increases of the front, because there's a v-neck here, a slight v-neck, because it will mark your place for shirt rows later with the collar. So yes, thoroughly enjoyable knit. I've done a lot of progress because, again, that's what I've been able to do while my daughter was snuggling up against me. So I'm so in love with this project. It makes me so happy, and really making garments is really what I'm most into, what brings me most joy, and it's so gratifying making, you know, sewing garments, knitting garments, and it's just so gratifying. And I've been missing making something for me. Last year, at the end of last year, I made a lot of garments for Seb, for my daughter, and it was time for me to to make something for me, for myself. And I really, yeah, and I'm very surprised about how fast this is knitting up, really, because I'm knitting this on 4mm needles, which is size 8, I think, no, size 6 US. I'm using my lovely Chiagos, as always, my interchangeable Chiagos, which are my favourite. And yeah, it's been growing really fast. And the yarn, the pashmina is sports weight, but really the pattern is designed for fingering weight. And if you recall, last time I mentioned I wanted to do another cardigan, but my gauge just didn't work out. And so after that, because I had my gauge, I have a couple of gauge swatches which would work. I actually searched patterns by gauge swatch, and it's been really lovely doing that, because the gauge for this is spot on, both length, you know, both in terms of the number of rows and the number of stitches. So it's been so easy to simply follow the pattern, not worry about, and the size is perfect, the length is going to be perfect, the way the decreases and the increases hit me is absolutely perfect. So it's been really enjoyable, and I'm thinking I should do that more often in the future. When I do have yarn, and I'm not quite sure what to make with it yet, I should really knit up a swatch or a couple of swatches that would work, and then search patterns with, you know, because you can search Ravelry, the Ravelry patterns with gauge, you know, with your gauge, and it's such a pleasure. And I know this is the complete opposite route that from what Jenny of Tiny Paper Foxes does, because she has a very hard time hitting gauge. Because she's a very loose knitter, so what she does is completely rewrite her patterns and, you know, do a lot of math, and it's very intimidating to me. So That's really something that is fascinating, I think, and is very, very useful to be doing. But I would be very intimidated to be doing this and to completely mess it up. So you see, Jenny, I know you are, sometimes you're struggling with your sewing and your sizing. Well, I'm in awe of what you do in terms of knitting and the way you just make patterns work for you, you know. So yes, that's my garment project at the moment. And I think the next garment I'm going to cast on after I'm done with that is another fingering weight cardigan, because these are just perfect for this climate, I think. And it's going to be out of the Homespun House Dewdrop lovely yarn that I got just before Christmas. And probably I'm going to do the Grace cardigan, when I'm blanking on the name. I think it's Jane Richmond, I think so. Which is very similar to Audrain Unst in terms of the style. You have this lace bit here, but it's stuck down, which I like much better. So the next things I've been knitting on is hats, and I mentioned a few episodes ago that I didn't have any hand knit or handmade hat anymore, because the one hat I did have, which I crocheted years ago, I managed to felt recently. So because I'm going to London next week for work, which is extremely exciting, and I looked at the weather forecast, and the temperatures are going to be a lot colder, of course, than here. So I thought I really needed a hat for that. And so it's not completely been going to plan, to be honest. So first of all, I cast on for this lovely pattern by Claire Devine from the Tea collection. I love every single pattern from the Tea collection. They're all the names are inspired after tea, kinds of teas, and I am knitting the Lapsang hat. I'm almost done with it, really. I think I'm at the decrease now. And yeah, so it's got a lovely twisted rib, 2x1 twisted rib, and then this all over lace, which is very easy, very enjoyable to knit. I'm knitting this on huge needles though, 6mm needles, because this is the hat is supposed to be knit out of bulky weight. So, and I wanted to be very virtuous and to use up some of my stash, and actually have been using, I think it's my oldest stash ever since I got that when I just started crocheting, so that must have been 6.5 years ago now. And it is Randa, so of course I would never get this now, really. It's not the kind of thing that attracts me anymore, but it's Randa by Scheller and Stahl, and it's a mix of 51% wool, 49% viscose, and so it's an iron weight, so I'm knitting it double, of course, to get a bulky weight yarn. So far so good, and the hat is really looking nice, and it's the right size and everything, but this is off-white, and I thought I could get away with it, but really it's not doing me any favours. I don't look good in this kind of shade. I look good in white, cool shades, really, not in this kind. This makes me look really sick. So when, you know, I really wanted to use some of my stash, and I'm going to finish this hat obviously, but this was big enough for me to try it on, and really I realised I just wouldn't be wearing this, I don't think. So yeah, so I'm going to finish this, probably give it to one of my sisters who don't have the same complexion as me. They're a lot more warm toned than me. And then, so because of that, I cast on for another hat, and this time I did get some yarn, because there just wasn't anything in my stash. that would work. And I wanted it to match my campsite, which, if you recall, is this very dark grey, which is knitted out of rowan. And I got some Fonty yarn, and you know how much I love Fonty, and they're Aubusson yarn, which is an hour in weight, and it's superwash. It is superwash, it's 100% merino, but they do use a superwash treatment that is a lot less harsh for the environment. They use plant-based chemicals. So and really it is funny because the yarn, it's definitely superwash. This is what I have left. I have 20 grams left. I got 2 balls, 2 50-gram balls, and the yarn definitely feels like it's very smooth, like superwash, but it's not as plasticky as other superwash yarns, you know. So I did finish the hat, and here it is with a pom-pom and everything. And the hat is the Ballad Slouch hat, which was designed by Felicia Lowe, once again, with the Sweet Georgia Yarns website, and this is actually a free pattern on Ravelry. And the only problem is, I'm going to get nearer, the only problem is it looks unblocked, doesn't it? And it actually is a lovely lace pattern, a lovely leaf lace pattern, as you can see. I blocked this and it grew. I didn't knit and wash my swatch because I felt with the hat, you know, didn't seem necessary, and I knit this on 5mm needles and it was pretty dense, really. So I washed it and it came out. My daughter gently soaked it in some Tuft Woolens soap for 20 minutes. We took it out very gently, and it had grown so much. It was completely unwearable. The rim was completely stretched out. I couldn't wear it anymore. So I had a few options, I think. I had the option of threading some elastic thread all the way around to cinch it in a little, which wouldn't look really nice, I think. Or I had since this was superwash, I had the option to try and put it in the dryer. And that's what I did, very carefully, with much trepidation, because we never use our dryer, really. We used to use it when we were using cloth nappies for my daughter, but that time is long gone now, and so we hardly ever use the dryer of our washing machine. So I put it into the dryer on delicate for 10 minutes, and it came out the same, still sopping wet. Not sopping wet, because I had actually removed squeezed down the moisture before I put it in there, but it was definitely not felting. So I put it after trying a few times, I put it for 30 minutes on delicate, and it came out just as it was pre-blocked. So the good news is it now fits perfectly, and I'm going to try it on for you. I'm going to remove my little hair clips, so you can see. So it does fit perfectly now. It doesn't have as much sad slouch because it's not blocked, but it works, I think. And I really, really like the colour. I really like it. But it's not blocked, it looks unblocked, and it means the lace hasn't opened up. So it's a little bit frustrating on the one hand, because it could be a lot prettier, I think. It almost looks like it's cabled instead of lacy. But on the other hand, it fits. I think it looks okay. So I really like the pom-pom. I wanted a grey pom-pom, like the one I put on my daughter's hat, but they were completely out of pom-poms at the at my local haberdashers, so it was either neon green or black. So of course I chose neon green, I chose black because neon green is not exactly my style. But yeah, so I think it works. It's still pretty. It could be prettier, I guess, but it's really warm, very soft, and it matches my campsite really well. And so it's going to be a lovely outfit for London to go with my maternity coat, which I made when I was pregnant with my daughter, which is a deep red, deep berry red. So I really like the dark campsite, the dark grey campsite, and this dark grey. This is the shade 5, by the way, of the Aubusson. It's anthracite. Yeah, so it's been quite a a hat making fiasco here, but I do have a hat and I think it's cute, so that's a win, isn't it? Yeah. So yes, now let's move on to spinning, shall we? So for spinning, I've been spinning a fair bit, not this week, last week actually. I've been spinning still towards my baby blanket, which is going to be the Pop blanket by Tin Can Knits. So if you recall, I finished, last time I chatted with you, I finished all of my Harlequin bites, so there were 6 of them, 6 20 gram, I think, or 15, yeah, 15 grams, lovely minis. And I'm spinning these into an Aran weight yarn, really, towards an Aran weight yarns. And so I've been now spinning my, I'm going to attempt pronouncing this, but I know I'm going to, bungle it terribly. The Hiraeth yarn, fibre, or Hiraeth, I don't know, it's a Welsh word. I don't know any Welsh, sadly, but I did take the pack here so you can see. So it's amazing fibre. It's one of the most scrumptious fibres I've ever used, I've ever spun. So it's 10, I think it's 20 gram minis. Yes, 20 gram samples of 10 different colourways. It's merino, Shetland, baby alpaca and silk. It's absolutely amazing. And you did get a card. I did get a card, lovely greeting card, within the package as a complimentary. And I cannot tell you how incredibly soft and squishy these are. So I spun 6 so far, spun and finished. And let me see, they're just off the drying racks, really. There you go. I really love these colours. They're so subtle. I'm going to show them to you in detail, in more detail, because they're so subtle. This one, for instance, it's just so beautiful. It's some lavender pinks shot with some buttercup yellow, really. Absolutely glorious. Very subtle. And then you have some, a couple of blues. The base is the same, a very, peacock blue, really. But one of them is shot with yellow and the other one is shot with, I think, a darker blue. Yes, a darker blue. So you can see the difference between these two. The base is the same. Oops. The base is the same, but they're different shades. Let me see how I can show them to you so that you can, yeah. There you go. So yeah, it looks a little blown out on the camera, so maybe against my face it'll be better. Yeah, that's the correct shade. So 2 of these blues, this lovely lavender, or rather light mauve, I think. And then there's this one as well, which is really, really lovely, and again so subtle. I shared this on Instagram actually, in its unspun state, because it was just so pretty, just pretty as a cloud. Did I share that this was from Hilltop Cloud, who is Katie, and she is in Wales, obviously. And so this is a grey shot with light blue and some yellow as well, so really, really gorgeous. And then I have two much darker ones. This very dramatic greyish blue, very dark. See how dark it is? So there you go. I think it's completely blown out by the camera. And then I have a black, really. This is the first one I spun. I think it's undyed actually. I think it is. Black shot with flecks of white, I think it's natural fibre really, natural colour. So yes, very, very dark one. So yes, I have 6 more now. 2 very dark, 2 very light, and then the blues. There you go. Isn't that lovely? I'm so excited about this blanket, as you know. I'm just completely, I'm so happy with, look at that. So happy with all these yarns that I've been making. So now I have 12 minis of Aran weight yarn, and as you can see, I think you can see it, it's very squishy. So, and that's because I've been spinning these a lot thicker than I usually would. I've been trying to add as little twist as I could to the singles, so that the yarn was still squishy, and to add as much air as I could. And so I'm spinning it, I think, semi-woolen. I'm not spinning it woolen because it's combed fibre, so it's not, the prep is not suitable for complete woolen spinning, but I've been trying to insert as much air as possible and to try and have a backwards draw. This is the next one. Isn't it glorious, this greens? And it's so, so soft, goodness. So yes, so I've been trying to spin them as loosely as I can, to have as little twist as I could in the singles, and then to ply them pretty firmly so that it's still sturdy, I think, but, and it does have some lovely definition, but it's still squishy because of the air in the singles. And I think that's really something I want to strive towards, something I would really like to do next, once I'm done with these minis, is to finally stop being intimidated by spinning fat singles. I would really like to spin a whole braid into fat singles and keep it at singles. I think these are, when they're nicely done, they're really gorgeous. And my concern, of course, is so far I think have been putting too much twist for it to be balanced. So I need to work on that. Try and spin a little finer than this, but add just enough twist for the yarn not to break, really. But not so much twist that it would need some to be plied in order to be balanced. Yeah, so that's my spinning. Lastly, I have a bit of a happy mail day to share with you, because I took part in the Valentine swap, which was organised, very kindly organised by Melissa of the Spicy Homemaker podcast, which is also a very fun and very informative podcast. And I was paired up with Lina, who is Lina Knits on YouTube and Instagram, and she's Lina Finn, I think, on Lina Finn on Ravelry. And she lives in Finland. She has the Lina Knits video podcast on YouTube, and it's been such a delight to exchange with her, chat with her as we were preparing our packages. And the idea was really to be a small-ish, swap with a card and some treats, but all up to the podcaster, of course, and really not going over the top, which I really liked as well. I don't think I might have participated otherwise, because at the moment it's very difficult for me to anticipate how much time or how much energy I'm going to have. So this was perfect for me. And I got the loveliest little fingerless mitts that Lina actually designed recently. Look how cute these are, with hearts. I think she calls them heart in your hand or heart on your palm. I'm so sorry, Lina, I should have checked this before I podcasted. But she's sharing the pattern for free at the moment on Ravelry. It's going to be a paid for pattern in March, I believe. But it's absolutely lovely. So cute. And these mitts are perfect for Montpellier, really. So, well, I haven't had to use them at the moment because it's so warm, but if the weather cools back again, I will be sure to. They will be really lovely to use. You see the little heart, the little blue heart? So these colours also, I just love them. So this was a lovely, lovely gift in there. She also sent me some minis. So most of them, she said, are from Finland. Yarn, yes, they're Finnish yarns, which is very exciting. And some tea, Finnish tea as well, which is very exciting. I've been very good and not sampled any of these so that I could show you. So green tea with cranberry and vanilla flavourings, green tea with jasmine flavouring, which is also always lovely, green tea with berry, wild berry, and green tea with mint. And she knows that I've been mostly enjoying green tea. I'm really not a fan of black tea at the moment, so this is just lovely and perfect. So thank you very much, Lina. And then she gave me this whole bar of chocolate. Can you see how good it's been? I haven't even opened it yet. I'm very restrained, but I think I'm going to enjoy it. Some of it this afternoon. So some milk chocolate, which looks really very yummy. A lovely card as well. That was, of course, the whole point of having a Valentine, a Valentine swap, wasn't it? Was to have a lovely card. And this adorable little notebook, which is actually from Taproot, and it's a little gardening journal. So I don't garden. We don't have a garden, and Seb is the gardener here, but it's just a lovely notebook with blank pages and lovely inspiring drawings. Wonderful. So thank you so much, Lina. And I think this brings me to the end of this episode. I feel this has been another long episode, but a lot of you very kindly have told me that you didn't mind, so I hope that is the case for most of you. I know with longer podcasts I tend to watch them in, you know, most of the time in two sessions, really. So yes, I feel I am forgetting something, but never mind. Thank you so very much for taking some time to watch this long episode. I do hope you enjoyed. Do please get in touch on Instagram or Ravelry. I always love hearing from you. And I will see you hopefully in a couple of weeks when we're all back from London. And until then, have a lovely, lovely time, friends. Bye!